What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Ilia Topuria responds to Paddy Pimblett. For a little while there, it seemed like Ilia Topuria and Paddy Pimblett may have reached a ceasefire, but now that Topuria is moving up to lightweight and is set to fight for the title, hostilities between El Matador and the Baddie have spiked. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. If you follow the stars, you know that the two have been feuding for a little while now, but once Topuria won the featherweight title and as Paddy continued to climb the lightweight rankings, tensions somewhat cooled off. In fact, at the weigh-ins for the UFC's card in London several weeks ago, the two were captured greeting one another and exchanging a fist bump. But fast forward to today, and the two are trading verbal shots again. Recently, Pimblett argued that Topuria has been, quote, hand-fed opponents. According to the Scouser fighter, El Matador's wins over Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway are somewhat suspect, since they both were coming off either KO losses or wars. Not only that, Pimblett opined that aside from Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall, a fight between him and Topuria would be the biggest in the sport. Since then, Topuria was asked about the prospect of fighting Paddy the Baddie while speaking with WOW 19. The Spain-based fighter proceeded to poke Pimblett for the after-party he hosted on a yacht, following his win over Michael Chandler at UFC 314. Paddy Pimblett, he knows where the money is now. He's got to pay for the parties he throws for himself. Funding for private lavish parties aside, do you see Topuria and Pimblett fighting in the near future? It looks like Paddy Pimblett saw Ilia Topuria's comments yesterday because he fired back on an Instagram post head-kicking Michael Chandler and captioned it writing, "Can't wait to land one of these on El Chorizo." Paddy said El Chorizo, meaning sausage in Spanish. Fighter pulls out of UFC Baku. Earlier today, the UFC Baku card took a hit, with news coming out that Kyoji Horiguchi pulled out of his fight. As of right now, there's no information as to why Horiguchi pulled out of his fight, but thankfully, the UFC quickly found a replacement. Tagir Ulambekov will now step in to fight Azat Maksum on the UFC Baku card. What are your thoughts on this change, and who do you see winning this fight? Let us know down in the comment section below. Dana White receives bad news. Not long ago, eyebrows were raised throughout combat sports when it was announced that Dana White and TKO Boxing were going to promote the super fight between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. But more recently, White's partner, Saudi Arabia's Turki Al-Sheikh, has announced that will no longer be the case. The initial change was reported by Ring Magazine. Turki Al-Sheikh has confirmed the promoter for Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford will be Sela for Riyadh season on September 13th, with the broadcaster still yet to be decided. And Turkey also confirmed the news. "We've confirmed the promoter for Canelo v. Crawford will be Sela for Riyadh season. The broadcaster, we have not decided yet, but the date will be Saturday, 13th September. More details soon." All of this prompted combat sports reporter Andreas Hale to respond with this. "Looks like Dana White TKO Boxing is out. This is a messy situation playing out in the public eye, so it remains to be seen what comes of all this. But one obvious issue is that since Canelo and Crawford are now fighting September 13th and not the 12th, it'll conflict with the UFC's expected Noche card on that same date. But what do you think of this news? And do you think this could be an issue for TKO Boxing moving forward?" Aljamain Sterling fires back at fan for comments. Recently, TJ Dillashaw made some pretty bold statements while reflecting on his loss to Aljamain Sterling. Dillashaw fought Sterling in October 2022 when the latter was the reigning bantamweight champion. Dillashaw's shoulder popped out not long into the fight, however, and Sterling closed out the show in the second round. Well, more recently, Dillashaw appeared on the Jackson podcast. While reflecting on the loss, Dillashaw explained why he elected to take the fight, even though he had ongoing issues with his shoulder.
"I was fighting a guy that I felt like I could still beat with the arm that I had. I felt like I could have knocked him out."
Who?
Sterling.
With one arm?
Yeah, dude, his striking's complete garbage. You know, I'm gonna have to have shoulder surgery, so I'm gonna be out for another year and a half. I'm 36 years old. It's kind of like, this might be my last shot. Ends up, yes, it was, because my shoulder was so bad. So it's like, why am I gonna pass up this opportunity? It might be my last shot ever to be a 3-time world champion, like get my belt back, like.
Not surprisingly, Sterling did not let the insults from Dillashaw just slide by. Via social media, the now former champ posted this. "Respect to TJ, but 3 extra arms wouldn't change that fight outcome. I was bigger and better. What appears as garbage isn't the same until we step in there, and you see firsthand how I beat so many guys." A couple of fans proceeded to side with Sterling, while noting that Dillashaw was suspended for testing positive for banned substances. Respect for being so classy in response. This guy's legacy will forever be tainted for the things he's done, and that's the end of it. I always enjoyed watching him fight, even from the early days of hearing he was on He was even outed at press conference by his then teammate on him showing people how to do it. And some people really believe it was only when he tried to make 125. This is why it's suspect of so many guys. People cheat. But when one observer proceeded to take a poke at Sterling over his comments, man, you really have no idea then. If you have the means and doctors, anyone can cheat, but you clearly know it all. I even gave him time to pop it back in because I fought like that and got the win. And I know how painful and miserable it is. And even that gentleman's weight he overlooks, ha ha ha, weird. I'd still share a Funk Haber rum with him. He was a champ before, even though he cheated to do it. At that time, Pavlovich was on the 6-fight, first-round knockout streak. It's also worth noting that in that fight, Aspinall won the interim belt. Pavlovich was tapped for that opportunity since, as Aspinall noted, he was laying waste to the heavyweight division. Some of the contenders he demolished during that run included Derek Lewis and Curtis Blades. Do you have a favorite KO of Aspinall's? And do you see him possibly adding another to his resume if and when he fights Jon Jones? Jose Aldo confirms UFC retirement decision. Since Jose Aldo has said he was done with MMA in the past, not everyone was convinced when the legend recently said that he's retiring. But based on follow-up comments that the former featherweight king has made, it certainly sounds like the King of Rio is hanging up the gloves. Aldo fought Ayman Zahabi at UFC 315 earlier this month, and following 3 rounds of thrilling action, Zahabi was awarded the decision. Immediately after, Aldo reported his legendary career was likely over. But since a lot of people scored the fight for Aldo, some wondered if he might change his mind after he rewatched the fight. But more recently, the 38-year-old released the following statement via social media. "The cage has always been my place, the struggle, my life. Today, I end this cycle with my soul in peace. I'm not going back because I've already fulfilled my purpose with blood, sweat, discipline, and honor. Been years of totally focused and dedicated to this. Now it's time to live and enjoy alongside my family, to help those who are starting, and to inspire beyond the octagon. Thanks to those who walked with me. Happy for all I've achieved." There's no indication here that Aldo could be thinking about taking more boxing matches, which some folks had wondered. So it looks like another storied career has come to a close. What was your favorite Aldo fight? Gilbert Burns breaks silence on UFC loss. As many expected would be the case, Gilbert Burns was unable to halt the meteoric rise of Michael Morales on Saturday. But although the longtime welterweight contender was unable to snap his losing streak, Burns sounded pretty upbeat in a statement that he's released. Burns faced Morales in the headliner of UFC Vegas 106, and after eating some heavy punches from the surging welterweight in round 1, the fight was halted. Following the loss, Durinho released this statement via social media. "Thankful for this journey. I'm still super blessed. Of course, it wasn't the outcome I was looking forward to, especially for this one. I worked extremely hard. Who saw, but it's the fight game, and it's life. Congrats to Michael Morales. Wishing you and your team all the success. That's it. No sad stories. Grateful for this beautiful journey and for all the lessons. God is good all the time. All honors, praise, and glory are given to him in a win or defeat." Now, since Burns is not far out from turning 40, he'll turn 39 in July, and because he's lost 4 straight fights, some have wondered if another loss could prompt his retirement. While it's true that Burns has suffered numerous setbacks over the last couple of years, and his days as a top contender are likely over, it's not like he's been losing